Hello, and welcome to the Chery Tiggo 7 plug-in hybrid. Currently, the cheapest plug-in hybrid you can buy here in the UK. This is a compact, family-friendly SUV made by Chery. Now, you may not know what the Chery brand is, however, they are the parent company for JQ and Omoda, and I am sure you have heard of JQ because they're one of the best-selling cars here in the UK for 2025. I'm Thomas, you're watching Cars at Glasgow, and in this video I'm going to give you a walk-around tour of the Chery Tiggo 7 plug-in hybrid, have a quick look at what it's like on the interior before taking it out on the road for a test drive. So stay tuned for this video. Now, the Tiggo 7 comes in two trim levels. You get Aspire or this top of the range Summit models. That Aspire model is the one that grabs the headlines because it's priced under £30,000, which makes it the UK's cheapest plug-in hybrid SUV. And this is the Summit, so it's about £3,000 more. It adds things like your 540-degree camera, panoramic roof, and the electronic tailgate, as well as some other niceties. All models come with 18-inch alloy wheels. The wheel design slightly changes depending on the trim level you go for. This one's finished in a rather attractive Chery Red paint with the bitones. It's about £1,000 option here fitted to today's press car. However, Arctic White is your free option, and of course there are a few other colours such as grey, silver and black and blue to choose from. So there should be something for everybody. Up front you can make your own assumptions of what you think about the styling. We've got the silver bits inside the grille here, all your radar cruise control and all that up front built into the radar, parking sensors front and rear as standard. The standard model does come with your rear reverse camera, but yeah, I think it looks fine. It's not ugly or offensive, it's just a relatively handsomely styled SUV. It's got elements of other manufacturers in there, and it does have pulsating indicators up front or dynamic LED turn signals depending where you are in the world watching. But yeah, I remember about 10 years ago that was a rare, and now your more affordable budget friendly cars are now showcasing full LED light technology. How far we have came in such a short period. So under the bonnet of the Tiggo 7, rather impressively, we do have two gas struts with sound deadening material. The entire engine bay is covered in plastic, which reminds me of a Lexus from the late 2000s. Do have little flaps here you can open up to reveal that 1.5 litre turbocharged petrol engine combined with a 150 kilowatt motor. That gives you over 200 horsepower and over 300 newton meters of torque. 0 to 60 is in around 8 seconds, and all that power goes through a 3-speed dedicated hybrid transmission. We'll see how that is out on the road. All the power for the hybrid goes to the front wheels. At least here in the UK, you can get an all-wheel drive 1.6 petrol if you go for the top of the range one, otherwise it's front wheel drive as standard, similar to what we've seen in the JQs. So there are front wheel drive only for the Tiggo 7 plug-in hybrid here. The Tiggo 7 measures in around 4.55 metres in length, about 1.86 metres in width and about 1.69 metres in height. So it's fairly short but tall, so it gives you a nice riding position, as well as when you're trying to park it, especially in these tight Glaswegian roads and parking spaces. I've been able to get this into a couple of spaces that maybe if I had a larger car wouldn't be able to. Now, we did mention the 18-inch alloy wheels. This one's riding on Maxxis Victra Sport 5 SUV tyres, which we've got 225 60 R18s, so they're not the largest profile when you see them side on. That did catch my eye, but it's worth mentioning. All models do come with the silver strip as well as the satin silver roof rails up top. And in this one, yeah, we've got the power fold mirrors, blind spot built in there, as well as your camera for your 540-degree camera built in there. We do have keyless entry as well and keyless start, but I'll touch on that when we get inside. We got that in the door. And then on the rear is where things get interesting, because this is a plug-in hybrid, remember. So being a plug-in hybrid, we do have your charge flap on the driver's side. We've got Type 2 and CCS charging there, so you can rapid charge this up to 40 kilowatts, which is rather impressive. So that gets you about 20 to 80% in under 20 minutes, or 0 to 100% they're saying in about 30 minutes, which is pretty impressive, and that gives you about 56 miles of electric driving range from your plug-in hybrid. Now, being a plug-in hybrid, it does weigh a little bit than you'd maybe expect. 1.8 tonnes for the vehicle that you see here today. Let's have a quick look around the rear of the car. We do have that kind of floating roof design, which is a little bit more common with modern SUVs. We do have that silver trim. We've got little kind of lines going across here. LED light bar. It's got a funky look to it, and then your indicators are rather small little pieces here. So if I put that on, you can see that flash there. I also think the rear wiper blade is a little bit too small for the size of the car. That could just be me, but you can comment below. Just say Chery below, plug-in hybrid. You've kind of got a teal colour for the eyes connecting up to remind people what model you're driving. Tiggo 7 badge on the left. Electronic tailgate on the top of the range model. So if you are wanting that, you need to go for the Summit trim. and you've got about 426 litres of boot space and just over 1600 litres of boot space with the seats folded 60/40. This is the dimensions and capacity for the plug-in hybrid model, so bear that in mind if you're looking between the plug-in hybrid and the regular petrol Tiggo 7s. Underneath the floor we do have kind of polystyrene, but a little bit of storage, maybe for a tyre inflator kit or something. Charging cables are sitting there. And then we've got power outlet, little bits here to kind of hang your shopping, which is always handy to save them like rolling around, as well as a cargo cover there as well. So overall back here, it's nicely lined with the fuzzy stuff, which is a kind of more premium touch. Wasn't expecting to see that on a more affordable version, especially from a brand like Chery. Big gas struts holding the tailgate up, and yeah, it is what it is. It's a decent sized boot. Let's check out the interior of the car. You join me in the back of the Tiggo 7. Now, I am 5'11". Foot room underneath the seat is pretty decent. I can get my feet underneath there. Knee room is okay, is adequate. We do have two map pockets behind both the seats. These kind of like one-piece style seats that remind me of something maybe seen in a CLA or a sporty German vehicle. It's quite nice to see the kind of silver accents in there. Two climate vents in the centre with a USB-A charger in the centre there. A little bit unusual to see that in 2026, but I'm not hating that because I do have USB-A chargers. And then you've got two bits of storage underneath there as well. Black gloss plastic in the centre. The door cards back here are not as plush as you'd expect up front. They're a little bit scratchy up above as well as down below, but they do have decent sized door bins, electric windows and a mechanical release to get out. And it's got the same design for the Sony speaker sound system that we've seen up front is replicated in the rear. We do have cup holders in the centre with squidgy armrest. That folds away. We do have child seat isofix points for your little child to be all comfortable, and Baby Bear is repping the Chery attire today for today's video. And if I sit in the centre here, bear in mind I am 5'11". There's not much of a transmission hump, so I can sit centre, so if you do have 3 teenagers or carrying 3 adults for a short period, you can do that. Boxy room, so I've got enough headroom here, and the big glass roof in this car lights illuminates and provides a good greenhouse in terms of cabin light, especially on a dark grey day that we are here in Scotland. Little interior cabin lights as well on the side of the roof. But yeah, overall back here, it's a nice place to sit. I would get the one with the glass roof if maybe you're wanting to do a little bit more greenhouse and aeration when you're doing road trips. It might imagine it feel a little bit darker in here without that. But all interiors are black, and the rear seats are not heated or ventilated or anything. They're just plain bench seating back here. Even this is the top of the range one, it's just not an option. Up front in the cabin of the Tiggo 7, it's worth mentioning all models come with adjustment for the driver. So that's 6-way electric adjustment you get, which means you can get yourself fairly comfortable. I'm 5'11". We do have reach and rake adjustment as well in the steering wheel, which is manual, but at least you do have that capability inside the Chery Tiggo 7. So if you're tall or small, hopefully you get a little bit of comfort and get yourself adjusted inside the cabin. Now, the top of the range model that we have here today does come with things like your memory seat, as well as adjustment for the passenger seat. There's no heads-up display on any of the trim levels here in the UK, unlike the JQ models. So if you do want a heads-up display, you might need to go for the JQ 7 plug-in hybrid. The door card here, we do have your memory seating, mechanical door release, this sound speaker system grille that reminds me of something like a Burmeister off a Mercedes-Benz, but you can comment below what you think. All around electric window switches, which are nice to see, coated in a kind of silver metallic finish. Powerful mirrors with blind spot on them, which is nice to see as well. Your door lock button, grab handle, big Sony sound system, again this is part of this top of the range trim, and door bins which have decent enough space for bottles of juice. So we wouldn't be a Cars of Glasgow video without a glove box reveal. Softly damped, decent size, no big fuse box in the way, so that's a pass. Not lined with fuzzy stuff, but I'm going to give that a pass because it's not a luxurious vehicle. Now, cabin quality inside the vehicle does feel what you expect maybe of a car of like this reputation that Chery are entering into the UK. Relatively new, they've not been out in the UK that many months, and yeah, it's got a nice feel to it, shall we say. It does feel a little bit a notch above something like a Nissan Qashqai or a Ford Kuga. It's just got like soft touch material going across the dash, white stitching going across the top of the dash there. This faux carbon fibre effect trims, no other word way to describe it, goes from the door cards across the dash. At least that connects it up. then black gloss plastic with silver trim right in the middle there. I'm not a fan of black gloss plastic in vehicles, but at least it's on points you're not really going to touch, especially around the centre here. You've got a big selector here for your gear selector. Again, it's not really where you're going to be touching the car too often. So on top of it, it's got silver, and you can rest your hand. It's a bit like almost like an airplane shifter or something. It reminds me. Put it into reverse, your 540-degree camera pops up. You've got your 360 camera on the right hand side there, and it's got the 3D rendering, or you can choose which camera you want. Pretty stitched together well. Little rotary knob for your volume. You can force the car into EV or electric mode depending how much power you've got in the car, as well as bring up the camera button there. Hazards in a relatively logical place down where you'd expect it, not on the ceiling or somewhere magical. We've got a big opening sunroof with a shade that opens and closes, and it does tilt and open, which is nice to see. Today is absolutely freezing in Baltic, so I'm not going to be opening that. In the centre here we do have a box which can be heated or cooled with the little nubbin, turning that will allow the air in. It just pumps in the air in the cabin into your box. If it's a really hot day and you have your aircon on max, you can put cans of juice or something in there and keep it cool. We do have 2 cup holders, enough for your Chery branded water bottle. Wireless phone charger, USB-A and USB-C chargers there. Floating console here with power outlets underneath there. But yeah, overall it feels a nice place to be. All models do come with these 2 12.3 inch screens. They're behind one bezel, so it makes it feel like one piece of material. Wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto are standard. And this being the top of the range model, we do have heated seats, which are all through the touchscreen here, as well as ventilated, but realistically it is absolutely Baltic, as I mentioned. No heated steering wheel, as far as I could see. At least I have been loving with this car, but can't see it on any spec sheets, can't see it on the system. It was really easy to see on the sister cars, so I'm just presuming it is not on the Tiggo 7 plug-in hybrid Summit. But yeah, let's get this car out on the road for a test drive. You join me in the driving portion of the Chery Tiggo 7. JQ going by. Now, you may be wondering, I have changed my top again. This is my third time filming because I've had issues with the audio. Basically, this first and second time wasn't up to scratch. So I'm hoping this third time is the charm with the audio in this car. Now, what is the Chery Tiggo 7 like to drive? Well, you sit up rather high, something like a Volvo EX60 kind of size in terms of height. It's quite surprising considering this is one of the smallest, well, it's the smallest Chery vehicle that they currently sell in the UK is the 7, and the price point, you know, you can get the Chery 7, Tiggo 7 under £25,000 for a 1.6, and then this hybrid one with all the bells and whistles and the nice paint is under £34,000. So there is something for everybody in that price range, and you certainly get a lot for your money. Now, when you indicate, you do get the little camera popping up for the rendering of the vehicle. I like the fact things like my hazards are in the middle, they're not on the roof or somewhere obscure. Physical button there. We do have 3 drive modes for this vehicle. We've got Eco, Normal and Sport. Twist that little knob in the centre there.
Normal mode. And
the car has a little graphic and it speaks to you to remind you which mode you're going in. Now, to remind you, you've got a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol coupled with a 150 kilowatt motor. That gives you about 204 PS and over 300 newton meters of torque. That combines 0 to 60, you're looking around 8 seconds with this car. It does feel effortlessly kind of smooth from that 0 to 30. Do no banding when you're driving around town, primarily due to the electric motor. This car is rather happy to help pull in that hybrid power. You do get the 56 miles of electric range, and you don't have to plug it in. You can use your petrol engine to kind of force some electricity back into the vehicle. There's a couple of modes you can play with. I think it's focused, initial and smart. Around the 3 you're able to jump into for your recovery. It defaults into initial in this car. It could be because it's a press car and I've not created a driver profile. I've only got this car for a week, but you are able to go into the settings and put it into smart, so then it's going to charge it up. If you leave it initial, it drops to about 2 miles and kind of stays there just to keep it topped up. As a hybrid, it's never going to go down to 0%. But yeah, you can even do forced and have it in a particular range. If you want to use your petrol engine to get it to 30, 50, 80%, whatever you want to do for that, charge that battery with the petrol engine, you do have that capability. The visibility out front is pretty decent. The A-pillars are not too thick by modern standards. Nice big mirrors, they've got the blind spot in the mirrors, and then the mirror in the rear is not that bad. I did hear other people say that they maybe thought it looked a little bit, that the rear of the car was a couple of car lengths away, but I have found it not that obscured. I think the Tiggo 7 rear view mirror, at least in this plug-in hybrid, is perfectly clear and adequate. I do like the sunshade that opens up. It is worth noting, every time you lock the car, that shade does close back over. Riding comfort in this car is perfectly acceptable. It is softly sprung and I guess designed for absorbing lumps and bumps in the road. I have changed the mode so that the steering and brake feel should hopefully link up with the drive mode. There's a couple of settings you can play around with. Just when I'm saying that, they're trying not to crash into the Golf in front. So yes, you can change the modes. It gives you a little bit more throttle response. For my liking, there isn't enough steering input back. I can't really feel what the front wheels are doing, and you can kind of wiggle it left and right and the car's not really moving too much. So it is a rather softly comfortable kind of car, but it's not really an engaging automobile to drive. But the interior does feel premium. It does come with a great warranty, and you can't really beat the value for money, regardless if you're wanting the entry-level 1.6 or you want a plug-in hybrid. This is one of the cheapest ways, if not the cheapest way, to get a plug-in hybrid here in the UK. Now, it does have a reasonable sound system. In this Summit trim, we do have the 8-speaker Sony sound system, which is fine for its class. You know, it's not as premium as maybe some of the other manufacturers. However, for the kind of mass market vehicles that's aiming for, it's perfectly adequate. It's just fine. But yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it's just fine. It didn't blow me away in any aspect, but it's fine. We don't have a heads-up display on the Tiggo 7, nor do we have a heated steering wheel, which is a shame because the JQ7 sister car does have those features, and I guess that's one of the ways Chery are able to make some cost-cutting over the sister model. It's also worth mentioning, in my week with this car, we have had about 5 days of rain back to back, and I have experienced wheel spin quite a few times moving off from junctions, and I don't know if that's just due to the kind of yaw and pitch of the vehicle trying to get traction. That is front wheel drive only in the plug-in hybrid. It could be the tyres. They're 225 budget tyres, so there could be maybe the tread, it could be tyre profile. I'm not sure, just not getting enough traction for my needs on the wet, greasy, damp roads. I have been lucky. This is my last full day with the car, and the temperature is a little bit warmer. It's above 0 degrees, and it is not raining currently, so at least the ground is a little bit drier for today's test drive. But yeah, around urban environments, good visibility, great cameras, and you sit nice and high, and you've got that electric drive if you want to put it into electric mode, or you can leave it in hybrid or HAV mode and let the car alternate between both. Motorway speeds, it does have a good adaptive cruise control. I have taken this car cross country to Edinburgh, South Queensferry and back. No issues whatsoever with regards to the cruise control. It's got the adaptive, so it does the braking and accelerating for you. You can turn on and off lane keep assist and all that good stuff if you desire. Up front, the driver display, I've got it configured, so I've got the little map and the little gauge, and I've got the kind of 3D graphics of people and cars coming around me, a little bit we've seen some of the MGs and Tesla models. I think that's probably the best way to set it up, and then you've got your wireless CarPlay on the big centre screen there. All the climate controls are pretty much through the screen, like heated seat and things like that. That doesn't stay on and remember. Again, that might come through from having the driver profile. It's not super clear, but from my experience with the car, to get in the car every time and change the modes, because it defaults back to eco mode and has all the heated seats and that off, which when it's winter in Scotland, I just want that always on, at least on low or an auto mode. So perhaps that might be something they might add potentially in the future as like an auto mode, but for the moment that's what we've got. We do have ventilated seats, which is nice to see as well, but I am not out with trying it for the video earlier on. It's not something I've experienced just because it is cold in winter. Couple of interesting quirks with the vehicle. When you have the rear wiper on, you get a tick or a clicking noise from the front right hand side of the dash, and that is every time the rear wiper goes on. So I don't know if that's like a switch or an actuator or something, but there it goes again. Hopefully you can hear it in the video. So turn that off for the rear wiper. It's just a little bit frustrating. I've never been in a car out with the JQ5 that had that little tick when the rear wiper went on, so that might be a parent company thing, I'm not sure, but it's just a little bit jarring when you're driving a long distance in the rain, and yeah, you've got that clicking on and off. Another thing with this car is the sunroof seems to rattle. It could just be this specific car, however, around urban environments and lower speeds, that pane of glass above me is just constantly vibrating and rubbing against each other. Again, this could be this very specific Chery Tiggo 7, or it could be them all. Who knows? But if you're looking at one of these, test drive it, go over some lumps and bumps, or just any of the British city roads, urban environments, and see if it vibrates. But it seems to be this centre panel here with the two panes of glass meet are causing a bit of kind of friction and a bit of an issue. But that is the two main grievances with this car, out with it not remembering where things are. I think there's more positives than negatives, but I wouldn't be doing my role if I did not highlight some of the features and dislikes of the vehicle. Now, it's also worth mentioning, as I park up, we do have that decent camera with the drop-down view for the 360, but when you're indicating, you can reduce the noise of the indicator through hitting the little button on the side of the gauge cluster there. There's like a speaker with a couple of audio lines, and then there's a speaker with one audio line, so you're able to adjust the volume to suit your needs. So if you do want to, you do have that capability, which is rather useful to have. One last thing to mention is the passenger seat has the four-way adjustment for the tilting and going back and forward. It doesn't have height adjustment, so if you are taller, over 6 foot, you might want to test drive and sit in the passenger seat first. So I just want to say a special thanks to Chery UK for loaning me this Tiggo 7 plug-in hybrid for today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the Cars of Glasgow channel below, share with your friends, and comment your thoughts on the Tiggo 7 plug-in hybrid. Is it something you could see on your driveway? See you next video. Ciao.